Welcome everybody to Diamond Valley Writers Guild's 8th annual celebration of poetry. We have a great lineup of poets today. Should be a wonderful full morning of hearing fabulous words spoken succinctly and dulcetly, I'm sure. Remember, if you're on Zoom, to please mute your mics so that there isn't any cross chatter. I'm going to start out today with Lynette. She has an update on the Diamond Valley Writers Guild logo contest.
Good morning, everybody. Hopefully everybody can hear me. We're good? Okay, great. All right, so we got a lot of great submissions for our logo contest. And one of the reasons we want to do that, and I will switch over here. This is one of the things I'm playing with is, nope, that's not the right screen. Give me just a second. The reason we're doing the logo contest, let's go there, is because, share screen, come on, turkey. There we go. No, sorry, guys. There we go. Okay. Hopefully that you guys can see what our Facebook page looks like right now. And what we'd like to do down here, we've just got like a generic clip art logo, and we want to work on our branding and making your guild even better. So this will be something that goes on correspondence. It'll go on our Facebook and our web pages and things like that. So we got a lot of great submissions. So what you're going to get tonight in your email is this form, and it's Diamond Valley logo. And what I want you to do is go through all these great submissions that we've got and hope it's not showing. You are screen sharing. Is it showing the Facebook page? It's showing the Facebook
It's showing
page
on our
still?
end in the room.
You can see the logos?
Yes, we can.
Oh, great. Okay. So we get all these great.
You can only see the Facebook, not the logos. My bad.
Okay. Hang on. That's okay. Let me see what's going on here. You are screen sharing. Let me hit the stop. Oh, I see what it's doing. Okay. I'm going to hit stop share and go back. Hang on a second, guys. Technology.
Oh, it's okay.
There we go. Let's try this one. Okay. Can you see the logo page? Yes. Okay. Yay. There we go. So you guys are going to get this form in a link to this form in your email tonight. What I want you to do is look through all these great submissions. I'm going to scroll through and kind of give you a sneak peek. And pick your favorite 3. And all you're going to do is just check the box. It's that easy. Check the box on your 3 favorite, and then get down to the bottom here and hit the submit button. And what the form is going to do, it's going to total up the 3 top ones, and then we will have a way to, I'll send it back out with just the top 3, and we'll vote for what everybody in the membership wants us to be represented by. So I hope that was clearer than mud. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me, but look for that in your email tonight. Okay.
Thank you, Lynette. Lynette's also the one that sends out all the surveys every month, and she's your contact for current members. If you have questions and you just want to have someone to talk to or give comments to, she's a great source for that. Okay, next up is a website update. Our new Vice President, Kevin Kendall, is the one now running our website. Kevin?
Hey, how's everybody doing today? Okay, I've done a lot of updates to the website, so if you haven't checked it out recently, you should. The member books page has been completely revamped, and everybody has probably more books on there than what they had before, and it's searchable, and it's a lot better. Go look at it. As for the statistics, everything across the board is green, meaning that we are above the previous 60 days of traffic. Pretty much by an average of about 30% higher than what we were the previous month. So website's doing good, but I've got lots of plans on, because I've been running websites since before Google even existed. I've got all kinds of plans on how to build an online community that I'm going to be slowly rolling out over the next, before the next year anyway. So anyways, yeah, so plus 31% on the site sessions, and we are up 10% on unique visitors. So it's actually a good start.
Excellent. Thank you, Kevin. You're doing a fabulous job. You're such a blessing to have in the guild. Real quick, upcoming elections. Every October, we have elections for officers, and this time around, it's for the office of president and the office of treasurer. There'll be more information at next month's meeting, so you can know about the voting. We do a voting form, so whether you're in the room or you're out of the room, we do it that way. Unless there's only one person running, then it's more of a, show of hands on Zoom and in the room. But if there's multiple candidates, we'll do a form, so it's all completely anonymous. If you want information on what those two jobs entail, feel free to reach out to any of the board members and just email Diamond Valley Writers Guild, and we'll be sending out a copy of the bylaws so you can see how the guild runs if you're interested in an office. Okay, upcoming member successes. So anyone with any recent publications, announcements, any kind of successes that you might have had in the last month since the last meeting. Maybe you're a member of another writers guild or group or something, and you want to make an announcement. That's what Sam's doing right now. Just please start lining up behind me, and I'll turn it over to Sam.
As some of you know, I'm also a member of the Inland Empire branch of the California Writers Club. And I just wanted to let you know that our August speaker is going to be Abigail. And she's going to talk about writing process and performance poetry. And she's going to share a lot of what she knows about writing and her own process when she's coming up with her performance poetry. And she's also going to give us some writing prompts, I believe. So there's more information on our iecwc.com website, and Michelle has a flyer that she's going to be sending out to the members of the Diamond Valley Writers Guild. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Boy, I'm looking forward to that. I'm going to try to make that meeting. I'll see if I can make it out there. Abigail, if you don't know, is a recent member. Just this year she joined, and she's an amazing poet. You should check out her website. If you go to Kevin's website revamp with the books and such, I believe you're on there, aren't you? Not yet? Okay, we'll talk about that. Any other member successes? Has anyone recently published something, got an agent, got an editor? Nothing in the works? I'll make a quick announcement. One on Zoom. Go ahead.
Is that me?
It is. It is.
Yes.
Okay. I just finished the first draft of my second novel, and it's a science fiction novel called World in Exile. I wouldn't call it a sequel, but a branch off of the movie Forbidden Planet. So it starts off with a couple of the characters from that, just slightly disguised, and it goes from there. So I'm now in the editing phase. I'm on chapter 13 of 72, and we'll see how it comes out of that edit. That's where I am.
Congratulations, Daniel. I know you've been working on that for a couple years now, haven't you?
Yeah, it's a little slow because I have each chapter critiqued, and we meet once a week minus holidays and absences. So it's slow going getting the first draft written. But once it's written, I'm doing a chapter a day, so that's going to go a lot faster. And I'm hoping to have it ready to publish at the end of the year.
Excellent. Well, when you do, we'll do a shout out for you and get it on the website as well.
Great.
I'm going to make a quick announcement for Dennis Conrad. He had planned to be here and had a last minute something come up that he needed to do. So he has his second children's book in the In God We Trust series coming out before the end of the year. I don't have the publication date, but he's getting close. So I'm sure we'll hear that announcement in the future. Very excited about that. And it's nice to see our guild members publishing. All right, without any further, is there somebody else on Zoom?
Yeah, it's me. Am I unmuted?
You are
Yes.
unmuted. You're good to go.
Yeah. Just a little reminder to the guild members that writing successes aren't always books or poetry, or they can be pamphlets, they can be all manner of things. And I just got a gig to do comedy for a women's retreat. And so I'm writing comedy right now.
Yay.
Excellent, excellent. And if you haven't heard Karen, she's an amazing stand-up comic. She really is. Are there any other successes on Zoom or in the room? Last call for successes. No, well, I think we're all successful because we're here and we're all writing. So that's a big thing right there. All right. Well, I'm going to turn the meeting over to Lynette, who is our member at large. She will be, she's the organizer of the celebration of poetry, and she'll be running the rest of the meeting till the end. Lynette?
Hey, thanks so much, Michelle. Liam, are we good on the PowerPoint? Hopefully.
Yep, we're all ready.
Okay, we can go ahead and start it. Hopefully. There we go. Okay, because everybody can see that?
Yep.
Okay, good.
It's
Actu-
on straight. Wait, no.
It says on stream. Okay. Okay. So this is actually our 8th annual celebration of poetry. It's something that Diamond Valley Writers Guild does every August. And I'm really excited about this. We're going to do live readings. And each of the poets, hopefully, is going to tell you before they read what either inspired the poem, or, you know, what was their jumping off, what were their thoughts, what made this poem come alive. So should be a lot of fun. We do have members of the guild that are reading today, and we also have some guests. So should be a good time. So we're going to start. Go ahead and change the slide. Okay, poem. I'm going to give you just a tiny little bit of background. Poem is from the Greek word poema, which is a thing made or created, and a poet is derived from the word meaning maker. So we are creating, which is, you know, we're artists in our own right, even though we're writers. If you go to Britannica, it says that poetry is literature. That I just lost my screen. Hang on, guys. That's okay. I have a backup plan. Oh, we're good. We're good. Okay. Poetry is literature that evokes a concentrated, imaginative awareness of experience or of a specific emotional response through language chosen and arranged for its meaning, its sound, and its rhythm. Okay, go ahead and change the screen. And I'm going to show you really quick who we're going to hear from. At least these are the people that signed up ahead of time. So we have Greg Porterfield. He's one of our members, and Karen Robertson and Daniel Putner. Go ahead and change the screen. Me, Lynette Tucker. Kay Murphy will also be sharing. Sam Nichols. Abigail Handoho. I hope I'm saying everybody's name right. Aiden von Weckman. And then we have some featured guest speakers. Letitia Garcia Bradford, Glenn Willis. Now, Erin Schock, I hope I'm saying your name right, Erin. She is with us, hopefully, online, but she sent some poems in. She has some small children, and she was concerned about the background noise. So we have a guest reader, Catherine Tucker, that will be sharing Erin's poetry. So what we're going to do is each of the poets has sent their pieces in. Some of them gave me the text so you can follow along, and some of them we're just going to hear it live. So no spoilers on those. Greg is first up, and bear with me. The technology is being a challenge for me today for some reason. I'd like you guys teach do poets is give your inspiration and then go ahead and go into the poetry. The only one we probably won't hear the inspiration on would be Erin's, because she didn't send me any background on it, but that's okay too. So Greg, if you're ready, let's get rolling. And I believe he's at the library. Great, fantastic.
Yes,
Thank you.
I am at the library. Okay, I'll give you a little background on this poem. It's original one from a few years back. In March of 2019, a little over 5 years ago, Gina Robinson was an intern at the Valley Chronicle, which is a local newspaper here. She sent me an email wanting tips and information about poetry and the process, etc., for writing of poems. She was going to be working on an article of some kind for the newspaper, but since I'd never met Jenna, and I feared the exposure and the glare of the public eye, I referred her to the illustrious Howard Feigenbaum, who I thought would be a more appropriate spokesperson for poets everywhere. As many of you know, Howard is the inspiration for our annual appreciation of poetry event, now in its 8th year. But her request diverted my attention from an ongoing writing project that I was involved with, and it forced me down a garden path. I guess in some ways, Jenna and Howard, who is himself a lively poet, became my muse as I struggled with the stanzas. My poem, The Poet, is the result. So you want to know the poet. Seeking inspiration for poem or verse, you yearn for secrets of the craft. Poets, you'll discover, are such a stingy lot, shuffling each line with clumsy words that seldom fit, till producing a harmony only they can hear. Moving each verse again and again, they push and pull to fit the frame and squeeze each word till it makes a sound. At the coffee house, they never order latte, picking a corner table just to sit alone, armed with pen and a steaming mug of joe. They write as their drink grows bitter and cold. Poets are an untidy lot and wear disguises, often hiding beneath a mustache or a hat, clothing draped in colored beads with eyes hidden beneath dark glasses. A poet is a lonely dreamer, wild-eyed, staring blankly into space, searching each word for meaning, confused by convoluted verse. Poets always misuse language. They bend and break the rules with short lines and phrases, obscuring the meaning as a tool. Poets are certainly simple folk, humming tunes that fill their heads. They waste their lives on silly rhyme no sane person wants or needs. Poets are really a shiftless lot, wasting time in parks, bookstores, and libraries. They scribble senseless phrases, filling page after page in their tiny books. You find poets are a poor lot. They vanish quickly over time, leaving words for lonely singers, broken-hearted lyrics that rhyme. No, they are not worth knowing. Just forget them if you can, these sullen, shiftless souls we call poets. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Greg. That was awesome. Well, next up is a poem that I wrote, and it's my personal memorial to my Uncle Lowell, who passed away this past year. He got cancer. They gave him 6 months to live. He beat that by almost double. But my memories, he was the token, I don't know if it's token, the stereotypical bachelor uncle. We loved going and visiting with him. We would go down to San Diego. My Uncle Lowell always loved birds. When he was a kid, he raised homing pigeons and tumblers and all these different kinds of birds. I remember as a kid going to his house, and he'd have all these little finches. If you saw birds, you thought of Uncle Lowell. It just they went together. And when he finally had a house in his older years, he had these chickens. He had 5 chickens, 4 hens and a rooster named Elvis Presley. So just, I see birds, I think of Uncle Lowell. So when they asked at his memorial, they said, if anybody wanted to come up and speak, I'm in Montana. I couldn't make it to San Diego. So I didn't really want to just ramble out words or anything. So I sat down and I wrote down something that I thought honored his memory. And so this is a poem I wrote for that called for my Uncle Lowell. A small bird alighted upon my windowsill, delicate yet bold in its approach, not aware the window was open. I extended my hand toward it, and it hopped upon my finger. No fear, just trusting. The little bird and I sat a while, quiet in our thoughts, neither meaning to harm the other. The warm sun beat down on us as we sat there, soaking in the beauty of God's creation. But the clouds came. And the little bird flew away. For all things in this world come and go, but the memories remain. Sorry, guys. Thank you. Sorry. I guess that shows that poetry really is emotional, huh? Thought I could get through that one. I really did. Okay. So our next reader is Abigail there at the library.
Hi, Lynette. I'm deeply moved and I'm sorry for your loss. Okay, hi. If you don't know me, I'm Abigail Hondojo, and today I'm going to be reading a poem that is actually based on where we are now. So for a little light introduction, I would describe my local library in the beloved city of Temecula as well loved rather than worn in. People of all ages come in and out to study, search for a book, engage in kiddie activities, meet friends, get tutored, supervise said kiddie activities, and so on. Even if it's the weekend, even as the library reaches its closing hours, I don't believe I've ever been there alone. When I first joined Diamond Valley Writers Guild in February, I was surprised at the abundance of books, but lack of busybodies. Granted, I've only ever been here on the weekend, so this place is absolutely beautiful. And I just know that if Hemet was closer to Temecula, so many more people would have brushed these shelves by now. So those were the thoughts that inspired me to write this poem under the premise, a library without readers is like a prison without visitors. Alternatively titled, Directions to a Place You're Wanted. My synonym for love is an empty library. By empty, I mean full, but untouched. By full, I mean intact, but internally crushed. Your carpet is a river no one's around to bathe in. Your shelves hold secrets, sitting songbirds of wisdom. I could compare you to a prison. The books would be the captives. I would gladly be your inmate. But the fact is, miles are between us and no compass can compete. You're bound to this spot. Stairs planted on the concrete. 2 stories worth of stories. Novels written by nobodies. And I just want to be your somebody. Not a classic case of sense and sensibility. Proximity's the best word, sense and sensitivity. So surely there's a map that'll lead you to me with a big red X painted in blood. That's iron for you. 4 letters scribbled in the margins. I yearn for you. Follow the flock of hot air balloons, and soon enough, you'll know where. For anyone can see, a place like you doesn't belong in the middle of nowhere. For your walls don't talk, they whisper. And your shelves don't take, they give. Filled with books, waiting to be read, an encyclopedia of reasons to live. Let me borrow one and sift through its pages. Even if I only last the prologue, love. You stand alone, like you've been standing here for ages. Thank you.
Great job. Thank you, Abigail. Okay, let's see who we've got next. Karen Robertson.
Okay, well, I'll have to read it off the screen because I had printer problems this morning. And I don't need to explain my poem because it's self-explanatory. It's called Ode to California. We have many friends who, like rats on a sinking ship, have abandoned California. Truly makes me want to flip. The next time I want to travel to see this nationwide, I'll have friends in every state across the countryside. Idaho, Texas, and Tennessee have welcomed these new guests. It won't be long before locals shout, "Who are these California pests?" North Carolina and Utah too, they'll seek out places to land. What looks so lovely in springtime, in winter ain't so grand. Snow, hurricanes, and bugs, I wouldn't know how to behave. Humidity, alligators, and floods would put me in my grave. I'll take my earthquakes and heat. I'm a California girl. The thought of ever leaving her makes me want to hurl. I could never leave behind the sun, the surf, the breeze. Sure, I could ditch the taxes and those who live for free. I love you, California. 80 years you've been my home. I will never leave you for another state to roam. When they put me under in the California ground, my soul will be in heaven, no more my poems will sound. Inside the pearly gates, I'll stand before the Savior. He'll check out all I've done, giving crowns for good behavior. It won't be California, but when it's time to go, I'll say my goodbyes with joy. It's the end of the Karen show. Voila.
Oh, thank you, Karen. You crack me up. As I'm one of your friends that moved from California, you have to come visit me now. I always love your poetry, girl.
Thank
All
you.
right. Kay Murphy is up next. She's going to be joining us from the library.
And I love Karen's poem because I'm a native Californian, so born and raised here. And I'll never leave either. The inspiration for this poem is Billy Collins. And if you read a lot of poetry, you might be familiar with his work. There was a point in time when my daughter was going for her MFA in poetry, and together we read a lot of Billy Collins together. She would come home from school and we would just sit and read poetry out loud. So you find as a poet, if you read a lot of poetry and become immersed in it with a certain poet's work, you tend to reflect that in your own work. So I want to give credit to Billy. Excuse me. Also, I am not currently a practicing Buddhist. However, I do believe in the first two tenets of Buddhism. The first one being life is suffering, hard stop. The second one, we suffer because we want stuff, because we do. So having spoken to my daughter and her husband frequently on those topics, they, for Christmas one year, bought me a plastic Buddha, and I didn't know what to do with it. So I set it on my front porch. He's still sitting on my front porch, by the way. This is the Buddha on the front porch is clean. The Buddha on the front porch is clean. Of late, I have been caught in the whirlwind of frenetic energy surrounding the start of a new school year, hurriedly writing down the words that will later be offered to my students in hopes that they will realize how poetry is, as Frost said, a momentary stay against confusion, a comfort in the midst of chaos, an opportunity for the mind to rest and reflect. With back to school activities following close on the heels of summer activities, I have deferred my usual maintenance routine. In those weeks of neglect, the Buddha has continued to sit patiently, collecting grass clippings, weed seeds, cobwebs, and cat hair, growing a bit grimier each day, but still greeting the mail carrier with his serene smile, hands nestled together, right palm atop left. I broke the quiet Saturday morning air with the sound of power mower and edger, then marched through quickly with the leaf blower, clearing the porch and swirling all the detritus away, while the Buddha continued to sit unmoved by it all. Namaste.
There we go. Thank you so much, Kay. Our next reader is Daniel Kuttner.
Hiya, folks. Hiya. I wonder if you can see my t-shirt today. I'm not lazy. I just really enjoy doing nothing. That's my retirement statement. And of course, doing nothing isn't doing nothing, as the Buddhist will tell you. The inspiration for this was, I think the roiling politics around us and some of the events that we're seeing put me in a state of mind, and I kind of dreamed this. I think I basically thought of it when I woke up. And I hope I won't take up too much time by reciting it. It took me some effort, but I've memorized it. I don't see it on the screen yet, but I hope they do show it. Is man an island? Not at all. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, Daniel, for those that don't understand the punchline, you want to tell them what an atoll is?
Yes, you can look behind me. Oh, it went away, but if you look at my image, you can see what an atoll is.
Very, very good. Thank you so much for sharing. Our next poet is going to be Aidan von Weckman. He should be there at the library.
Hello. I'm Aidan von Weckman, if you didn't hear. The inspiration for this poem is a relatively simple one. I saw a video online talking about Icarus, from the classic Greek tale, and it inspired me to write a poem about Icarus. This is called Flying While Falling. High in the sky, he soars through the air. The wind rushes past, parting through his golden hair like connecting bridges, as he hollers and yells and smiles, a blinding light rivaling the sun he flies next to. Daedalus tries to get his warning through the impassable winds as Icarus flew higher and higher, but he could not hear, for the rush in his heart was the loudest above all else. As he climbed the sky and saw that sun shine on the blue sea below, Icarus laughed, for his wish of freedom had been granted. And when the wax holding the wings melted, he did not fall. What Daedalus could not comprehend, what the moral lesson cannot tell you, is that as Icarus plummeted into the sea, he was still flying, smiling and laughing all the way.
Thank you so much, Aiden. Our next poem is one that was sent in by Aaron Schock, and it will be read. Making up my own words now. That's a true poet, right? Our guest reader will be Catherine Tucker.
Can everybody hear me all right? Okay, awesome. This is Our Small Town by Aaron Schock. Plastic wheels rumble across, cracks splitting sun-beaten sidewalks. Cornfields fade behind like mirages, opening the vista of red brick buildings in the heart of town. I'm 11, Emily's 12. We jingle mismatched allowance change and crushed babysitting dollars shoved into our jean shorts pockets for an afternoon of opportunity. Start with comics at Around the Corner Books, scented stickers at the variety store, Ahoy fountain cokes with every syrup flavor. Finish with foosball at Sun's Arcade. Our worlds stretching with possibilities. As our rollerblades rocket us into more places without parents, still, no doubts we'll return home in a small town that watches its neighbors, finding preteen freedom.
Thank you, Catherine, and thank you, Aaron, for sending that in. Our next poet will be Sam Nichols. They're at the library.
Several years ago, I started following Robert Lee Brewer on the Writer's Digest. He publishes a prompt for poetry every Wednesday and daily in the months of April and November. And until March of last year, he published a poetry form prompt on every Friday. I don't know why he stopped doing that. But this last February, he published a form called the Constanza, which was invented by the American poet Connie Markham Wong, whom I know little about, but she has many, many poems on poetrysoup.com. The form consists of tercets with a minimum of 5, and each line has a set meter of 8 syllables. The first line of each tercet is a common rhyme, so all the first lines have to rhyme, while lines 2 and 3 of each tercet rhyme together. Another requirement is the first line of every tercet, when read separately, have to make a standalone poem. So this is my attempt to the Constanza. I look for treasures here and there, but luck eludes each baited quest and leaves so little time for rest. Hoping to find that which is rare, I journey far within my mind, seeking notions outlined in kind. Like an ancient carved maple chair, I stand proudly while others speak, or that which they alone may seek. Or a lock of Helen's hair, legend to be ensconced in pearl, when once the sea did rise and swirl. I would wear with elated flair those treasures from the briny deep, which man covets but cannot keep. In the first lines, I look for treasures here and there, hoping to find that which is rare, like an ancient carved maple chair or a lock of Helen's hair, I would wear with elated flair.
Wow, I'm really glad that we have the words to that because there's so much there. Thank you, Sam, so much for sharing that. That was really cool. Our next poet up is Letitia Garcia Bradford, and hopefully she made it there to the library.
Lynette,
Yes.
quick question. Are you going to have the printed poems available to see online somewhere?
Wow, that's a great question. I think that will be up to the poets. Anybody that wants their poetry to be shared with the group, we can certainly do that. Okay, great question, Daniel. Thank you. Do we know oh, great. Thank you, Letitia. Go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, everybody. I'm Letitia Garcia Bradford, and I am originally from the San Francisco Bay Area. And recently I've made my home in Southern California. And as I did in San Francisco, I'm traveling everywhere to do my poetry. So during the pandemic, I had the opportunity to perform with the Mechanics Institute. It's a private library in San Francisco, and it was all online. And at that time, they asked me, not they, Cheryl, who's a good friend of mine, asked me to feature with the group. And Cheryl had heard lots of my poems, and I'm like, I need a new poem to be part of my feature. And unfortunately, I had a broken right arm, which I write with. And it's like, how do you do a poem that you can't write? And I couldn't type either. And so I figured out how to make a verbal note on my phone and emailed it to me, and I was able to get it in the computer. Now, part of speaking into our microphone for writing a poem, I found there was words in there I never dreamed of. And when I went through it, I left them and I just thought it was beautiful. So what I have is my fleeting shadow, and it is inspired by my, I believe he's 2-year-old grandson, who very young, they find out they have a shadow. And that inspired me for this particular poem. Flying above the morning dawn, I'm looking for my shadow. Not yet do I perceive what often eludes me. I am searching for the sky amongst the clouds up above. I look for dandelions to blow sweet seeds across the horizon. Is it green or is it cold? Is it real or is it Memorex? You can't compare. Must be an echo. Worship, worship, worship. The wheels are turning on a dry ocean. The dregs of sand fulfill my casket. I feel like a fish on land. Take me home to Atlantis and back again. What's real, what's not real? I can't find it. I'm still looking for my shadow below the deep. Come with me, fly upon the sea. I've been there before. Worship, worship, worship. Holding grandma's shriveled hand, fingernails perfect. That's all I have left of her. Holding baby's tiny finger, tiny hand, holding fast my pinky. Grip the memory. It may never be there again. Worship, worship, worship. The Bradford stained glass window in the town of York in Great Britain. My sanctuary, shattered in the war. Paupers pulled their pennies together to rebuild the cathedral window. Is it real? Is it replaced? Is it refurbished? Yes, the sun shines through again, as does my shadow. Worship, worship, worship. The sky is green, the glass is blue. My memory fulfills despite my fleeting shadow. Thank you.
Thank you so much. That was awesome. I'm glad you got to perform it in person too, because there's just something special about hearing poetry read live. Our last poet for the first round, and then we will start over because most of the poets have a second one, is Glenn Willis. And he's supposed to be there at the library. So I'm hoping, Glenn, that you're there.
Here. He's
Great.
here.
Thank you so much.
Call this the Halloween Tale. I didn't know I should have put words up on the screen. Excuse me. There was an old house near the foot of a hill in the shade of a huge old tree. Its windows were all broken, the door hung wide open, one last shutter banged often in glee. 6 boys on a dare crept up in the dusk to prove they had hair, you know where. They brought along snacks and a couple 6-packs, 2 candles, 3 lights, and a flare. A broken old rocker was knocked apart proper, the pieces then stacked for a fire. In spreading their bedding, they made the dust fly. So choking, they unscrewed a top, toasted a while the sparks did pop, sipping to the lines of each lyre. Well, I remember the time when I fought with a lion and beat him to death with a book. Ha! I spent some time on a Louisiana chain gang, then escaped 20 years. He was drinking those beers with the help of a man with a hook. The third one chimed in. You guys don't know sin. I'll tell you a tale from my past. Once on a long sail with a whaler named Snail, we ran out of wind. The sheets hung so thin, we got stuck in an ocean, stuck fast. The breeze would not come, and then we ran out of rum. Crackers and Spam were the last things to go. The 2 of us lazed in the sun, about half crazed. I dreamt about ham glazed, so I called out to Snail, don't you know. But he wouldn't answer, though I called and I searched. So I looked in the fridge for my mate. It was filled with prime rib, leg bones, and a gizzard, and I ate like a man from a plate. Snail never showed up, but a wind in a gust gave me hope to get back to the harbor. It was after a while I put rib bones and neck bones together and figured where I got my larder. The 4th boy jumped on the stories they'd started and spoke of a bear he had slain with a rake, then claimed he had wore the skin with its fur to a king's coronation on a lake. The 5th boy was more tame, the bravest he'd been. Per his story was to cheat on a test. So the last boy was strapped and made up a yarn in a bid to outdo all the rest. He blew a smoke ring, then opened one more, took a long pull to get wet. 5 attentions went rapt as he gathered his breath for a tale to someday repeat. Walking home late one night in cloud-speckled moonlight, a groan stopped me fast in my track. The trees rustled silver in a breeze hustled shiver that chilled, thrilled all the bones in my back. I peered through the edge of a forest unchecked, overgrown and hanging with vines. My blood turned to ice. I screamed out, no, twice, as a red wolf leaped into my face. His lunge knocked me down. His breath flushed my face. Growls bared fangs sharp as thorns. In cascade between teeth, his drool flooded my cheek. Wide eyes glowed yellow with scorn. I knew I was dead. My arms and face bled. Though I fought like a demon, he would not dissuade. The boy's eyes flashed bigger as his movements came faster. His fingers did swagger to the words of his tale. The listeners enthralled did not notice his jaws stretch out while teeth grew and glistened. Wild screams rent the night, and with the come of daylight, only one boy walked home from their mission.
Wow. Thank you, Glenn. That was awesome.
Thank
That
you.
was like being at Cowboy Poetry. I love that. Love how you had that twist at the end too. That was, yeah, well done. Greg Porterfield, you're up next with your poem Heat.
Well, here's another one. As many of you know, I have a technique in writing that I call post-production proofreading. I generally find the errors of my work after it's already been published in one form or another. Just handing out glasses for those that need them. early on in my illustrious career, I ended up writing a collection of stories and poems, expressions, that sort of thing. I call it Don't Fear the Rewrite. Took me 2 times to get the word rewrite written right, but it was only on the cover, so who really cares? The poem that I'm going to read is called Heat. Now, you might think this is out of the ordinary since we've just been dealing with heat for about the last, oh, I don't know, seems like a year now. I'm sick of it. I'm sure you are too. This occurred when I wrote it back in 2006, though. My wife and I were living up in the Central Valley, just outside of Kings Canyon National Park. And it was one of those summers, geez, makes this one seem like spring. We had 21 days that it was over 100 degrees. And up there in that area, you know, we were dealing with a swamp cooler, which keeps the place kind of cool until it gets to be about 95 degrees. Then it's not much use. So you end up just soaking yourself with water and just something to stay cool. Anyhow, this is the poem that came from that experience called Heat. The turkey buzzard sits low against the dead and rotting oak, waiting and watching as the dry grass shrivels in the heat. Summer fills the valley, cutting like a sword. Water drips slowly, falling onto hollow rock, providing small relief for the birds as they gather to discuss the oppressive, searing heat. Clouds push and grow against the mountains, forcing distant thunder as the air becomes heavy. The sun, white hot, passes slowly beyond the hills, dropping the valley into shadow, bringing rest but no relief. Days pass, and all that remains is the heat. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Appreciate everybody that's come out so far and read their poems. We've had a lot of great works today. The next reader up is me, and I promise not to cry this time. This one is not quite so close to my heart, but it is a poem called Come Away. And one of the great things about this annual celebration of poetry is that it was always an inspiration for me to write something, because I would always sign up, always send my email and say, Howard, put me on the list. And then about 2 or 3 days before the event, I would go, I really should write something. You know, so this is one of those poems that was I really should write something because it's tomorrow sort of thing. My daughter used to play with the orchestra there at Mount San Jacinto College. And so I'm sitting in the hallway waiting for them while they're in there doing their practice for their performance. And all along the walls in the hallway, they had a bunch of, well, they weren't originals, but reprints of famous masters' works, Renaissance period and, you know, the Romantic age and things like that. And there was this very romantic picture there. And I'm sitting there with my blank piece of paper in front of me going, well, she's going to be out of practice pretty soon. And the event's coming up in a day or two, and I really have no inspiration. And I looked up and I saw this very romantic painting, and I said, okay, that's going to be my muse. That's going to be my photo prompt, if you will. So this poem is a result of that. It's called Come Away. Come away with me, my love, to a place of quiet repose and peace, to a place where hearts beat as one, to a place where breaths are heard. Come away with me, my love, to a place where our minds speak the same, to a place where our fingers entwine, to a place where sighs are heard. Come away with me, my love, to a place where we can lay our heads, to a place where our souls fly together, to a place where laughter is heard. Come away with me, my love.
Okay, our next poem, our poet is going to be Abigail there at the library.
Hi again. All of your poems so far have been wonderful. Okay. So, this introduction's a little longer, but a few months ago, I read a post saying that. Okay, wait, hold on, sorry. A few months ago, I read a post on social media that said we might be losing Neptune. I did some more research. The New York Post states that if Neptune's orbit moves 0.1%, it could destabilize the solar system. This means a passing star or stellar flyby could be the end of us all. But it also said it won't happen in our lifetime, so I guess we'll wait for future generations to deal with, right? Upon further research, I learned about an astronomical phenomenon called a retrograde, which is when planets appear as if they're moving backward from where we are on Earth, because we move in one direction on elliptical paths around the sun, according to the CBC. Let me know if I'm losing you. But in an astrological sense, the planet Neptune, which rules over the zodiac sign Pisces, affects our creativity and perception. Pisces? Yeah, nice. Okay. So a Neptune retrograde would alter our dreams and subconscious from June 30th through December 6th. Remember, this is all considered pseudoscience. Still, I gotta credit my friend for that one, since I'm not much of a horoscope girly myself. I'm more of a psychology geek. So all I know is that my sun sign is Pisces, my birthstone is aquamarine, and this intro feels more like a lesson than a poem. So without further ado, here's Neptune's retrograde. I've always wondered if blue eyes would suit me. They do. But they look better on you. You don't deserve some old cliche. I would not compare thee to a summer's day. I don't fancy you like I do my wordplay. I would not compare your eyes to blue skies, since I know the sky won't fall for me. I would not compare your eyes to the sea, for that would make you 71% of my world. Too deep for something fleeting at the least, absent at its best, that 4-letter word, too intense to suggest, and yet the romantic in me swoons at an excuse to write a love poem. I would compare your eyes to a mirror missing its reflection, easy to find and easier to get lost in. See, if only staring did not come with its implications, I'd never look away if you let me. I would compare your eyes to my birthstone. Aquamarine has become my favorite color. The parts in your hair like lightning strikes. Your laughter follows like the thunder, so insistently alive, shifting in the light, skidding on the ice, sliding, slipping in your gaze. If you cannot teach me how to skate, tell me how to survive the crushing fall, hands behind my back, sliding down the wall. Frozen silly, in the middle of summer, I did not expect winter's arrival this early. There are still 7 months in between. I was not ready. I thought Xerxes' blue butterflies were extinct. I gave it 2 to 4 weeks. You still show up in my dreams, living proof of Freud's iceberg theory. I'll acknowledge that 10% visibility, but the remaining 90% of my psyche schemes against me, stranded in the Atlantic. Your eyes are the iceberg. My heart is the Titanic. Not frantic. Won't panic. Just testing how long I can hold my breath before I drown in the depths. Waiting on your texts. A thought floats to the surface of my mind. Crush my heart. I dare you. I swear I'll be fine. I'll make sure it doesn't bleed. I wouldn't want to get your hands dirty. The genre's still comedy. It's just one giant joke on me. I happen to be both the traitor and the victim. Spoiler alert, that 0.1% chance the stars beneath the Neptunes of your eyes was more than enough to wreck my solar system. Thank you.
Wow. That was really awesome. I don't have any words. I'd have to sit and think about it. That was really good, Abigail. Thank you so much for sharing. Our next poem is called Yearning for the Coast. It's one of Erin's poems, and it's going to be read by Catherine.
Dang, Abigail. Wow. Okay. Yearning for the Coast, inspired by downtown Laguna Beach, by Erin Schock. In my dreams, I soar through cerulean blue skies streaked with paintbrush strokes of cream white clouds that unspool like balls of cotton. I hear the soft rumble of ocean waves as light shimmers on facets of cobalt crystal water, while waves pad against powdered bisque sands scattered with shell fragments like broken porcelain. I meander across well-worn sidewalks where a bounty of art surrounds me, from brightly painted benches that burst with the colors of summer flowers to towering sea life sculptures that suspend time. I let myself absorb into the chattering crowds, dodging the shopping bags that bounce against knees and guard store-purchased treasures, feeling breezes that blow gauze scarves like pennants. Yet, when I wake from my dreams, I will be 17 before I first see the shore, and 4 years older still before a kiss in the saffron glow light of an oceanside sunset with the man later I married. My lifetime reminders that imagining can be a first footprint into truth.
Thank you, Catherine. Erin, that was beautiful. We seem to have 3 romantic poems in a row. That's kind of fun. That was not intentional, but that's okay. Our next poet up will be Kay, and she will be sharing from the library.
Let me just be the one to get all unromantic on you. According to my DNA, I am 63% Irish. I only say that because I don't want you to think I'm stereotyping Irish people with this poem. But if I am, that's okay. It all comes back on me. I think this poem is self-explanatory. A couple of things in case you're unfamiliar, but in my family, a shot of Irish courage means a shot of whiskey. Also, I'm not a drinker. And I don't advocate drinking as a way to increase your poetic inspiration. However, the title of this is I Sent a Poem to a Publisher. I sent a poem to a publisher, but not without help. Sober, I thought it was an okay poem, as poems go, conceived in misery and dedicated to the proposition that misery does indeed love company. Afforded time to reflect by a shot of Irish courage, I realized that there was, after all, at least some spark of creative genius in it, and that probably my friends might like it. After 2 shots, my brain was imbued with greater clarity, and I became convinced that the piece did possess some merit, presenting a point of view not commonly seen, and that a modern audience might be compelled to scan it more than once. 3 shots, and I was able to lick the stamp, seal the envelope, and stagger to the mailbox, hoisting the flag with a flourish, confident that my neighbors took note of me and commented aloud behind their curtains that I would one day be poet laureate, because with the 3rd shot, I knew unequivocally that this poem and its theme were unparalleled in the literary world, and that the greatest academicians in the land would herald it as nascent truth for every poet of the new millennium. It was my misfortune to be cold slap sober the day I opened the mailbox to find the poem returned to me. An uncharacteristically empathetic publisher wrote that it had some unique qualities, which began to encourage me until it occurred to me that she hadn't said what those qualities were. And try as I might, I was having trouble discovering them myself until I took a shot of Irish.
Thank you, Kay. That was a lot of fun. And I think as writers, we've all probably been there in one way or another. I don't know that we've all taken a shot of Irish, but it might be possible. Our next poet up is Aiden, and I believe he's there at the library still. There we go. Thank you.
Hello again. So the inspiration from this poem came during the month of April, specifically April 3rd, because I was following a 30-day challenge for writing poetry, where you write a poem every single day of a month based on a prompt they give you. The prompt for this day was, I used to, but I don't anymore. This one is a bit sad, but it isn't based on personal experience. So the poem is titled Box for You. When it rained, I used to sit by the window and watch the cars pass by. If I was lucky, my cat, Striker, would come and sit on my lap. I always cherished those moments, as the world didn't seem so daunting then. It seemed like I could jump over whatever hurdle was in my way. I fully believe I never would have gotten where I am today without those quiet moments. And now I'm here in this moment, once again with you, though it's not raining and you're not on my lap. Now I don't sit by the window when it rains anymore.
Thank you, Aiden. It's really exciting to me to see how many young poets we have among us, and their words are just as deep, and that's very cool. Our next poet up will be Sam Nichols. And I'm not even going to attempt the name of your poem. I'm going to let you handle that, Sam, because I looked at it and went, okay, doesn't even look like English.
That's because it's, I think maybe Erse. This is another poetic form I got from Robert Brewer on the Writer's Digest website. The England is a traditional Welsh and Cornish short poem form with several strictly structured varieties that use quantitative meters and rigid rhyme patterns. The England unodal union is composed of quatrains, where the first line is 10 syllables. The second and fourth lines are shorter, and they must rhyme with each other. So this is my slightly imperfect attempt at the England unodal union. In between my sunsets and sunrises, I visit other lands, where life is always grand and love is never planned. I dwell happy in those nether regions where beauty is a prayer that ensnares the fain and fair and scares away the mares. Thus I pursue the middles of the night and the dearth of piddles, and live instead with riddles that diddle and twiddle. It is my escape from rhymes and reasons in the seasons made prime, vile thoughts inside my clime, suspicious of crime and grime. I find peace inside my schemes, which nurture inside my dreams.
Thank you, Sam. That was cool. Seems to be the word of the day for me. Our next poet up is going to be Letitia, and she's going to share one of her favorite poems, which is All the World's a Stage by William Shakespeare.
Hi again. My first profession was a drama teacher, and spent a lot of time with Shakespeare as I did my education. And I spent a lot of time with this poem with about 8 to 16-year-olds. And we just played with the words and had a lot of fun. And in my estimation, over 10 years, I worked with probably over 100 students with Shakespeare. One day somebody asked me what my favorite poem was, and I just stopped and said, gee, I don't know. And finally it came to me, All the World's a Stage. I'd spent so much time with it. I wanted to bring Shakespeare's big book of all his writing. The copy I have is the Riverside Shakespeare, and it is huge. And it's bigger than a Bible, and the papers are, so thin. And I didn't want to bring that book today. But I found another book called A Treasury of the World's Most Loved Poems. So I'm going to read it instead of off my phone from the book today. All the world's a stage, and all the men and women are merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts. As first the infant, mewling and puking in his nurse's arms, then the whining schoolboy with his satchel and shiny morning face, creeping like snail unwillingly to school. And then the lover, sighing like furnace with the woeful ballad made to his mistress's eyebrow. Then a soldier, full of strained oaths and bearded like the pard, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. And then the justice. In Farewell belly with good cap and lined, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of wise saws and modern instances. And so he plays his part. The sixth age shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon with spectacles on nose and pouch on side. His youthful hose well saved, a world too wide. From his shrunk shank and his big manly voice, turning again towards childish treble pipes, the whistles in his sound, blasting of all, that ends the strange eventful history, is second childishness and mere oblivion, sans teeth, sans eyes, sans everything. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I think it's always awesome to go back to some of the great classics. And I think that volume of Shakespeare might be on my daughter's shelf because that's one of her very, very favorite poets also. Our next poet up is going to be another original poem by Glenn Willis.
Okay, Glenn does not have a second poem, so we can move on to Hap.
That's okay. Yep, we have a couple of people who want to share today. that brought poems with them. And Hap, you're up. And I believe she's with us on Zoom.
There we go. Okay. Hey, thanks. Okay, so since everybody seems to be in the mood for romantic poetry, this is romance and humor. So it's called Polynesian Princess, and it was inspired by well, I was working well, no, if I tell you, it'll ruin it. I'll just read it. Okay, here it is. Use your imagination. It says, I'm your Polynesian princess in the Isle of Make-Believe. She who pollinates the flowers, she who cultivates the leaves. I'm the one who is a palm tree sways in Caribbean breeze. She who dances oh so slowly like the waves upon the seas. I'm the one who in blue waters my reflection to be seen. It ripples through your memory like the waters so pristine. The ocean waves upon my feet leave hidden footprints when we meet. The essence of your lovely smile makes me wish you'd stay a while. I listen to the island's song and hear you when you sing along. You're my Polynesian princess in the Isle of Make-Believe. Oh, thank goodness you're a statue, and thus all my fears relieve. Okay, anyway, the inspiration for that was that I was working as a caregiver and cooking for this couple, and she'd gone out and bought a life-sized statue for her husband, so her husband would exercise every morning and go walk around the house and talk to the statue. So I would leave flowers and love notes on the statue and dress her up and to get him to go out and talk to the statue. So anyway, that was the inspiration for this. It was the ugliest statue I've ever seen. She spent $600 on this Greek statue that was not pretty. So anyway, that we used to kid that his wife was gonna get jealous. So anyway, that was the inspiration. Okay, go ahead, whoever's next.
That's wonderful. Hap, if you have a second one, go ahead and read
Oh,
a
I
second one.
do.
Okay,
Sure.
great.
Okay. This one probably everybody can relate to. It's called, let me find it here. It's called June 2nd. Okay, where is it? Hold on, let me get up here farther. Where is it? Okay, oh, here it is. Okay, June 2nd. Okay. Excuse me. And June 2nd is my birthday. So here it is. I lay down to take my birthday nap. It was quite overdue. I thought about how long it'd been. It'd been a year or two. I laid there thinking lovely thoughts of birthdays now gone by and how I love my birthday nap. And then I closed my eyes. The birthday fairy soon appeared, my birthday wish to grant. But half asleep, all I could say was, I'm sorry, but I can't. And off to slumberland I went, angelic thoughts in tow of things I'd like to do or be and places I would go. Amazing as it now may seem, I didn't travel far, for what was near and dear to me was born in who you are. It seems a fitting paradox, contentment to procure, to nurture kinder, gentler things that aren't quite so obscure. Upon my waking moment, I suddenly realized the wish I thought was gone for good was right before my eyes. I wiped away the tears. A lump rose in my throat. The thing I had not wished for was granted when I wrote. That is why I'm here today to share this news with you. I finally accomplished what I set out to do. Thank you.
Oh, those were great. I'm so glad you brought them and shared them with us today, Hap. Thank you so much.
You bet. You bet.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you. I believe we have another guest poet, Eloise Crichton. Is she there at the library, Michelle?
He's here. She's a little timid, but it looks like she's making her way to the podium. This is Eloise.
Yay. Thank you for coming today. That's awesome. You are in a safe place, Eloise, because we love words.
Gotta get my stuff together first here. This is a poem I wrote a while back. I lived in Pasadena, California, and there was a lot of stuff going on at the time. So I thought I'd just write something that comes to mind and get it out. Excuse me. I named it Violence and Fears. This is not about being fair. This is about being scared. There's violence up the butt, excuse the word. Who doesn't get shot is getting cut. No work, no joke, no pay for days. No fun to poke. We gotta find another way. Children are being abducted. No one's being promoted. Seniors are being ripped off. Youngsters are being ticked off. Babies are born deformed. Mothers are born misinformed. Mothers are being misinformed, excuse me. Deadbeat fathers are all around. Gangsters and shooting several rounds. All those words that you've just heard sure don't sound like the song of a bird. Where is the light? This is not right. The tunnel is dark and it's not always right. Furious, vicious, brutal, barbarous, rough and intense, trespass and fierce. All of these spell violence and fears. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eloise. Did you happen to have a second one that you wanted to share?
Let's go on to another guest. His name is Bill, who is here to read. And Eloise will look to see if she has one more. She brought a huge book of her writing. So she might have one more in there.
Great. And then I think Daniel has one too. So we have a couple more.
This is called Meta Poem Circle. And I don't know if it's inspired or anything. But we had a 2-year-old son. And the son said, in his mother's request, "What do you want for lunch?" "Salami, mommy." And so we talked about that for 3 or 4 days. Is that a poem or not a poem? And I've always wondered, just what is this thing called a poem? So this is a meta poem circle. A 4-letter word brings us here today to this festival of poetry. Here before a collection of poets, I ponder aloud to this crowd. What is a poem? It eludes definition like love. There isn't a fungus among us with a voice to define for all the wherewithal of a poem. In taking aim at this atom of poetry, we mumble, grumble, and are humbled. An easier question for delving in. A poem is something written by a poet. Define a poet. A poet is someone who writes poems, free verse or structured. Someone who takes a dip into the inner ocean of emotion, often with a little jingle that leaves you a tingle. Who is a poet? A poet is you, a poet is me. We are poets. We individually ride creativity. We, all the way home to a poem. Is this a poem? I'm a poet. This must be a poem.
Thank you, Bill. That was fun. I think we underestimate the age of poets, and Salami Mommy, I think that works. If Eloise is ready, that's great. And if not, we will go over Daniel Ketner.
Yes, Eloise is going to head up.
Fantastic. And then Daniel, you'll go after Eloise.
This one is called Ill. One of the moments when I just thought everybody was crazy except for myself. Being ill means a lot, especially when you say you forgot all the things you did wrong to help you think you could get along. You're illing, and that's because you're not willing. The best defense is a good offense. That's what you often said. Your split personality brought you popularity and took you to women's bed. You charmed, you wooed, you tried not to be crude. You masked your cruelty well when you talked that talk, standing there in the stairwell. Good job, you said. She's a keeper. Built for comfort and made to love. You masked it well, standing in the stairwell. You're willing, you're illing. Your behavior is really killing. You're not willing to do right. You just can't see the light. Your most feared word was pathetic, and your least known word was poetic.
Thank you so much, Eloise. I'm so glad that people brought extra poems to share with everybody. Daniel, you want to go ahead with your poem? I think this is one of your favorites.
Yes, it certainly is. I read it as my final memorized poem for senior English composition in college. Anyway, and I still love it. It's written by Lewis Carroll. It's from Through the Looking Glass. Humpty Dumpty asked her to recite a poem that was famous at the time. It was one of those stern lessons type of poems, and the way she recites it I like much better than the original. It's called You Are Old, Father William. You are old, Father William, the young man said, and your hair has become very white, and yet you incessantly stand on your head. Do you think at your age it is right? In my youth, Father William replied to his son, I feared it might injure the brain. But now that I'm perfectly sure I have none, why, I do it again and again. You are old, said the youth, as I mentioned before, and have grown most uncommonly fat. Yet you turned a back somersault in at the door. Pray, what is the reason of that? In my youth, said the sage, as he shook his grey locks, I kept all my limbs very supple by the use of this ointment. 1 shilling the box. Allow me to sell you a couple? You are old, said the youth, and your jaws are too weak for anything tougher than suet. Yet you finished the goose with the bones and the beak. Pray, how did you manage to do it? In my youth, said his father, I took to the law and argued each case with my wife, and the muscular strength which it gave to my jaw has lasted the rest of my life. You are old, said the youth. One would hardly suppose that your eye was as steady as ever. Yet you balanced an eel on the end of your nose. What made you so awfully clever? I've answered 3 questions, and that is enough, said his father. Don't give yourself airs. Do you think I can listen all day to such stuff? Be off, or I'll kick you downstairs.
Well done. Well done. That was fun. Do we have anybody else on Zoom or in the library that has a poem they'd like to share?
Oh, we do. Yes.
Sure.
Oh,
We have one more in the room.
yay. All right, let's do it. This has been a lot of fun. I'm so excited that everybody came today to share. And then if you go ahead.
We have one
Yeah,
more
go
in the
ahead.
room.
Okay. And go ahead and tell us your name, since I don't have you on the list.
My name is Allison Sanders, and I just found out about this group like 3 or 4 days ago.
Hold on.
Oh, sorry.
Now, try. You're tall.
Okay, yeah, I'm tall. I'm sorry. And my name is Allison Sanders, and I've just found out about this group a few days ago, and I read about this poetry gathering, and I wanted to come because I've written a lot of poetry. I'm fairly new to Hemet. Well, it's been almost 2 years, but anyway, this poem is pretty self-explanatory. It's called Beautiful in Its Time, and it was just inspired by a walk around my neighborhood this spring. And a lot of my poems, I put Bible verses too. So this one has a Bible verse. God has made everything beautiful in its time. Also, he has put eternity in their hearts, except that no one can find out the work that God does from the beginning to end. Ecclesiastes 3:11. I went for a walk on this cool spring day, stopping by our lizard, my respects to pay, as he warmed himself up on our house wall. Then lifted my eyes, hearing heaven's call, was transported by the cloudy array gracing the skies, a glorious display. Then set off to get some sun and fresh air, and was blessed by God's beauty everywhere. The fragrance of roses greeted my nose, and trees in full bloom were ready to pose for my camera, which I could not contain, but kept pulling out some beauty to frame. Though most of my neighbors have manicured lawns, it's not far to where untamed nature dawns. Along the back road of our neighborhood, mustard plants reaching my eye level stood. Foxtails were rampant in both green and tan, and yellow flowered weeds everywhere ran. In springtime, there's beauty even in weeds, which if I stop to look, my spirit feeds. Weeds gave the roadsides a bright yellow glow, which caused me to pause and my pace to slow, so I could examine individually each beauty which God created for me. And my heart was struck by this truth sublime. God makes all things beautiful in his time. Thank you.
Very nice. That's exciting that you found out about us and that you brought something to share. I think we only have time, I'm watching the clock, for one more poet or poem, if anybody else has one more to share. Looks like Cap, do you have one more?
Yeah.
Okay, let's let Cap's going to be our closing poem for the day, and I'm thanking everybody for coming.
Okay, this is also humorous, and the inspiration was I was taking paralegal classes, and I guess that's enough. So if anybody has a legal background, this will really tickle your fancy. Okay, it's called The Timekeeper and the Problem with Ethics. Hang on a second. Ethics is a word, the definition tailor-made to rules of conduct we adhere, yet no foundations ever laid. We're masters of deception as we snicker at our peers. We try to justify the means and thus relieve our fears. We delegate authority, or so it would appear, and leave to those unauthorized the things we should hold dear. Pilfering the pockets of the legal system too, we alter time and billings without too much ado. Should we be discovered disbarment to endure, we plead to misconceptions, and suspension is our cure. We never rehabilitate, that's simply not our claim. We only beat the system, which will never be the same. That's it.
Oh, thank you so much. That's awesome. Well, thank you everybody for coming out and sharing with us. You have a year. You have till next August to bring your next poem. So you're put on notice right now. Now I'm going to turn the meeting back over to Michelle.
Thank you very much. Wonderful poetry. Let's give all the poets another round of applause. Couple of quick announcements. Our next meeting right here in this room, also via Zoom, is on September 16th. That's on Saturday. 2 months from now, during our October meeting, which is also our election meeting, we have a prose reading that is very similar to this, only it's prose rather than poetry. So you have novel excerpts or short stories. Word count information will be sent out by email, guidelines, etc. in the coming month, I'm sure. So. And if you're not on our mailing list, I see some new faces, some guests. So welcome, by the way. Wonderful to see new faces. Please leave your email address. You can get information about upcoming events. And if you would like to join, membership for adults is $25 per year. And we're happy to, you can pay by Zoom or check or cash today. As well as for students that are college age, it's $15, and for high school students, $10. So if you have any young writers out there that you know, this is a great resource for them as well. Thank you all for coming. We'll see you next month, September 16th. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
One last quick announcement for the room. We have free books. Anyone want free books? Lots of free books.
No, man, I should bring you.
Thanks.